Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Music Den. I'm your host, Armando Venditti. Hoping you guys are having a good day and above all else that you're indeed looking after yourselves and one another. Ladies and gentlemen, before I get into the topic of yet another fantastic episode on the Music Den, I want to welcome back to the channel Mr. Jim Brecker. How's it going, Jim?
Hey, 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 I'm doing all right, Armando.
That's fantastic. And the one and only Mr. Ken Cheshire. How's it going, Jim? Ken, I was going to call you Jim. How's it going, Ken?
I've been called worse. Thank you, Armando. It's
Oh, have you?
oh
Oh
yes,
my.
yeah, it's good to be here.
It's good that you're back. Ladies and gentlemen, after that mistake, I wanted you to know there's nothing but coffee in this cup. I promise you, there's nothing but coffee. One
I
sec.
make no guarantees here.
Ladies and gentlemen, we want to welcome you back to All That in 1982, take two. We are going to be looking at a list of albums, 10 to be exact, that were released in 1982. I will be uh, spearheading this episode. I will be naming various albums. No rhyme, no reason, just naming off the albums, and we're each going to give our. I put my hot coffee down. Don't want to spill it. We are each going to be giving our recollections of these albums and free form. We're going to have some fun with this, guys. Okay. So
Off the cuff, unprepared remarks, right?
yes, and you don't
And
need
we're
to
doing
censor yourself. So
and
say
we're doing
whatever.
this in English, right?
As far as I know, no
Okay,
subtitles.
I
All
can do
right.
that.
My Dutch is a little rusty, so
We're gonna have some fun. All right. As I look at my list here,
And a Wang Chung.
hmm everybody have fun tonight.
Okay.
Supertramp, famous last words.
ooh,
Mm,
Ken,
golly. I haven't listened to this in a coon's age, as we say in the South. Um,
you say that, do you?
yeah, matter of fact, recently, like 10 seconds ago. I remember, enjoying this album. Um, I probably haven't visited it much since just because there's been so much other music since then. Um, yeah, I'd even have to remind myself of the tracks on it. But yeah, at
I
the
just
time,
looked it up on
I thoroughly
Wikipedia
enjoyed it.
so I could remind myself of the tracks of it.
Yeah, um, go ahead. I may come back to it.
Um, it ain't no breakfast in America, and it ain't no even in the quietest moments. I mean, I remember kind of liking it at the time, but also finding it a little bit lacking. Um, it's not that there's anything particularly wrong with the songs.
Okay.
Like there's no egregious stinkers on it. It just doesn't. Uh, it had to follow two very hard acts. Like I said, Breakfast in America and Even in the Quietest Moments are just completely amazing albums. Um, I'm looking at the track list now, and um, crazy. I remember, put on your old brown shoes. It's raining again. Um, but everything else, it's like if I stretch and really kind of press myself, maybe I can
Yeah.
know how it goes. I mean, like know who you are, maybe with a couple more strong cups of coffee, maybe I can remember it. Um, yeah, there's just nothing to me that's really remarkable about this record. It sounds like a record that Supertramp would make, and but they kind of phoned it in, which is probably why Famous Last Words is its title.
Okay. Well, I do remember this album coming out. My brother-in-law Mario was a major Supertramp fan. He saw them on this tour. I always loved It's Raining Again, and I recently picked this album up about 2.5 years ago, if not. shorter than that, more recent. But Crazy was a good song. At this point in time, when they were recording this album, uh, Richard Davies and Roger Hodgson had the discussion that this was going to be the last Supertramp album with him in the band. He was leaving. Um, and you can tell that it just wasn't there. I mean, songs like Bonnie, which was the B-side to It's Raining Again, I love that song, especially the last musical, the musical section on the end. It's beautiful, it's melodic, but you can tell that there is something missing here. And having Ann and Nancy Wilson do backup vocals on, I believe it's C'est Bon, uh, wasn't going to save it. It wasn't going to save it. They knew they were nearing the end of an era, and it does come through on the album. Um, Musically, it's fine. Is there something lacking? Yes, I can't put my finger on it, but there is something lacking there. So,
Yeah, looking at the track listing, I remember it's a solid album, but it's not something I would hang in Jim's Louvre. So yeah,
okay.
it's a pleasant list.
Jim's Louvre. Is that what you just said?
The Louvre,
Louvre, the Louvre.
Louvre.
that
Okay.
that famous museum in Paris.
Yeah. In Paris, France, not Paris, Alabama. All right, we'll move on. Okay, next one on the list, Fleetwood Mac Mirage.
Is that to me?
Anybody?
Yes.
All right. I've never owned this album. Um, I guess I was so tired of Fleetwood Mac back in the day that I never really made the leap to wanting to get it. I mean, Love in Store, I remember liking. Gypsy is okay. Um, Hold Me, that was one of the yeah.
One of the singles, yeah.
So yeah, so I recognize those three tracks, and they're all okay. I mean, I like Love in Store the most out of those. Um, I don't know. Again, I did not own it back in the day, so all I would know are the singles, and to me they're fine, but they're substandard Fleetwood Mac singles compared to what came before, especially from Rumors and the '75 album.
Yeah. Okay.
Can't add much to this one, guys. Up to you.
Ken.
Meh. It's it's more of the same. For me, it's for hardcore Fleetwood Mac fans. Um, Tusk was the last album that I purchased, and I heard the singles on the radio, and it just kind of seemed like retreads. So, like I said, Fleetwood Mac fans, I'm not that big a fan.
Okay. All right.
I prefer their previous Buckingham Nicks period. So, and this is as far away from it as I think they ever got. So,
Fair enough. Fair enough.
You're saying you prefer the Bob Welch period of Fleetwood Mac?
I do.
Oy,
Okay,
Weesh.
got me
Okay.
hypnotized, baby.
That's right.
All right. We won't go there. I do remember this album coming out. I do like Gypsy as a track. I think that Gypsy is a wonderful. I mean, it has that ethereal. It does have the ethereal quality on the choruses in terms of the arrangement, in terms of the keyboards. Um, Hold Me is a good pop track. I mean, I've always loved the work that Lindsey Buckingham and McVie had done together.
Yeah.
And you can tell, again, I've said this before, you can tell they love and respected one another to no end. He would do anything for her, she would do anything for him. You could tell that. Um, I do find it, the rest of the tracks, I do find it substandard, like Oh Diane. It's like, okay. I will maintain I do like Tusk better
Yeah.
than this. Yeah, 12 tracks, it is what it is. I'm not going to say substandard, but no,
What's substandard?
yeah, it's not what. Yeah, it's not there. I'm sorry.
Well, it's
Uh,
kind of like what I was saying about Supertramp is that even if you did Tusk and Rumors and Fleetwood Mac 75 are hard acts to follow. It's very difficult to maintain that level of quality.
yeah,
So,
yeah. I
I mean,
mean,
they were not a spent force at this point, but
no,
it's,
but you could see that
couldn't do it.
the strains were beginning to show. And I'm not saying that this is one of those WTF albums, but it's heading in that direction. You know, okay.
Okay.
Moving on. Um, Toto 4.
Ah,
Nah,
there you go.
Total 4, you see.
Toto 4, yes. Okay. Ken
Um,
or Jim, whoever wants to go first. Free
I'll
form.
I'll start. It's an amazing sounding album. I mean, right off the bat, you put this thing on and you're just hit with just this level of like, you know, Steely Dan-ish sonic perfection in terms of production quality. Um, so it's just from without getting into the songwriting and the performances, it sounds amazing. Just what's coming out of your speakers. Um, from the performances, I mean, you got to give it all up to Jeff Porcaro for holding, you know, kind of holding this album together. Um, and it makes it sound like it's weak and it's only him. No, it's rewind, scratch that. Jeff Porcaro to me is the standout. Mostly because of, the writing on Africa and the kind of modified shuffle that he does for Rosanna. Um, but again, I mean, Rosanna, Africa, of course, are the monster hits. Um, you know, make believe, I won't hold you back, afraid of love. Those are all great songs too. There's a soft spot in my heart for this record, and it's good. Um, I won't thumb my nose at it. I'm not going to call it yacht rock, um, but it's a good freaking solid record.
No,
To me, it holds up to the Toto record.
this ain't no Pablo Cruz or player, that's for sure. But
Pablo Cruz is its own thing, baby. And again, you're talking
true.
to a San Francisco Bay Area boy, so don't be knocking my Pablo Cruz.
I just knocked it. Come get me. I mean, I'm telling like, please. I mean, anyways, I digress. Ken?
Yeah, it's one of their most solid albums. Um, Even aside from the two monster hits, which still get a heck of a lot of airplay, um, I find the album much more intriguing when it came out
Yeah.
than it does to me now, but that's because it was new. Um, it's probably my second favorite Toto album. I still prefer their debut album, but yeah, I mean the pedigree of the musicians here. This is a unique album in their catalog. Um,
Yeah.
Possibly even without the two hits. This was another one of those albums, it's like, okay, you're now 21. Here's your copy of Toto 4. Um,
Oh, you mean a rite
Everybody
of
had it.
passage
I was
album?
playing in a band at the time, so
Okay,
yeah, it was all over the place.
a rite of passage album. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, I get it. For me, I again the two hits. I have always loved Africa as a track, as a single. I think it's a strong melodic piece of music. I think it has the hook. It has everything that pulls you in. Rosanna, forget about it. You listen to that, you knew who it was. It had dynamics to it. It had drama to it. It had good vocals, good harmonies. Um,
Jeff Picaro, baby.
yes, Jeff
Just going to
Porcaro.
reemphasize that.
Um, yeah, Steve Lukather on guitar. Like, come on, it had it. It had the it factor. Um, this album was all over the airwaves when it came out, and to a lot of people, Toto had arrived with this album. Um, and I do have the box set of the album, so I'm gonna dive into them even more. And but yeah, this album was a monster hit. It was a monster hit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Number one in Australia, number one in Canada, number one in
Yes.
the Netherlands, number
Yes.
four in the US, number four in the UK. It
Jim was
got
just
around.
guessing, everybody. He doesn't know this information. Well, yeah, he's got it on the screen. It's off the cuff here. But
And
yeah,
I may get some hate for this, but go to this original, you know, bypass the Weezer cover.
oh,
Yes.
Africa. So
Sorry,
you
just my take.
Yep.
who did the cover? Who did that sampling? Jason Derulo, whatever it was, for Africa.
Hmm.
I don't know.
I think it was Jason Derulo. Yeah, you know what, guys? Forget
Maybe.
that shit. Go for the original. It's a lot better. It's more melodic.
It is.
There's
Yeah,
soul to it.
I remember hearing the Weezer version. I'm like, I thought people were saying this was like really good. I thought as, pretty
Yeah.
subpar.
Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to
Thanks.
continue. And YouTube, yes,
I'm waiting. I'm waiting to type in the name of the album so I can be reminded.
you smart ass. Talk, talk. The party's over.
I defer to Ken because I've never heard this record
Neither
other
have
than the
I. So
single.
Ken is going to take us on a journey of the party's over from Talk, talk.
You've never heard this album?
That's what I just said. Did I
Wow.
stutter?
Wow.
Neither have I. And I
Oh,
didn't stutter either. Watch it.
I love this. I love this album. It is unique amongst their rather small catalog. This is definitely in the synth pop. They haven't gotten into the sophista pop or the prog, whatever, they would eventually go into. Um, Armando, I'm going to use your phrase. This is an ass shaking album. Um, Produced by Colin Thurston, which was a former engineer for David Bowie.
And you work
Um,
with Duran Duran. Yeah.
yeah, it's uh, I heard, I think the single or the one track, "The Party's Over," I believe, or it, or it could have been the title track. I don't remember. It's been so long, and it's like, okay. And I bought the album, and it's just like, wow, this is so good. Mark Hollis's vocals are just absolutely amazing. Um, this is what I like about uh, the synth music of the 80s because having grown up in the 70s, a lot of my generation was like, where are the guitars? All the synthesizers crap, drum machines are crap or whatever. However, they use the synthesizers in a very orchestral way, unlike a lot of other bands during this time. I remember about the same time as when I bought uh, Shuttered Room by The Fix. I kind of associate these albums to one another because I was listening to both of them a
Mm.
lot.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, the it's got the power of Mark Hollis's vocals with the upbeat songs. You're not going to find any um, not going to find anything off their much off their second and third albums. There is some that are related to stuff on their second album. It's just more pop oriented. The songs are basically, with one exception, around 3.5 minutes long. Um, there's two that run 5 and 6 minutes, but they're just not these long, epic whatever. I don't know a word for it, but the bass work is really done well. When there is guitar work, it's very moody. You don't have a guitar player that's just playing chords. In some ways, it's a little bit similar to um, early Talking Heads. I mean, excuse me, Tears for Fears.
Okay, okay. Now I know
Yeah,
a point of reference to go from. Okay.
yeah. Um, and like I say, the vocals are very powerful. This isn't a somber, contemplative um, album like the next ones come. But I tell you what, the sonic aspect of it, the sound, the production is wonderful. It's just to me, this is just a feel good album. Would this be a perfect album for me? Yeah, I think it would.
Okay,
But
now I gotta check it out.
there again, this is my experience with this album. There could be a lot of nostalgia factor at the same
But
Mhm.
time
but
because
you
of
know
what was
what?
going on in my life at the time.
But you
So,
know what? That's the point of it. Music, there's no rhyme or reason to it as to why you may like something. If it has an effect on you, if it brings you back to a certain point in time, if you like the music for the melodic aspect or the musical aspect of it, it's all valid. Everything is valid. Nothing is off limits. Nothing is verboten.
yeah,
It's all valid. So
yeah,
it's valid in itself for just saying that, for thinking that way or feeling that way. It's fine.
yeah.
You know, I never
It's
even heard of this album. I've never
okay.
listened to it.
This is one of my favorite debut albums
There you go.
all time. Yeah.
There you
Do you
go.
know the Armando? Do you know the song "Talk Talk"?
Now, I'll tell you something. My first introduction to Talk Talk was It's My Life.
Rightfully so.
And that was their big hit. This, believe it,
Yep.
in the same album, the same name. And it was that bass line, just
Hmm.
that, you want to talk about an ass shaker of a track? You put that on at any house party, the extended mix that
Oh,
my brother-in-law had, and no ass was in their seats. Everybody was up on the floor, dancing, sweating, moving, yeah, having a great time. And it was that bass line and that drum track, that drum pattern. It got you
Yeah.
moving. It got you moving. And it's valid in just in that fact alone. I'm sorry,
Sure.
you
Sure.
know.
so I'm familiar. Obviously, I'm familiar with "Talk Talk," the song. The other songs I have heard on like greatest hits collections, and I've never really been that enamored with. And I don't recall which songs they are. It's probably "Today" and "Mirror Man," but there may be a couple more on there. Here's my question to you, Ken: Is the tone of this album, is it similar to like side B of "It's My Life"?
Lyrically or musically?
You pick. Any way, shape, or form. I'm asking just because I'm very familiar with "It's My Life," and again, I'm trying to kind of make some sort of reference point between the two albums.
I think there, I think there could be, I think there could be some similarities. There is trying to think. The song "Candy," for instance, is very similar to Renee. Um,
You have my attention now because I love the song Renee.
yeah. Um, um, yeah. There's so Renee isn't an upbeat song, but
Right.
it is gosh, I don't know even how to describe it. Yeah, Candy is that way. The um the party's over
Hmm.
is that way. Um yeah. I'd say there's some similarities with with It's My Life. They definitely took a turn, but they didn't leave everything behind. But
Gotcha.
this is
Okay.
just much more of a pop album than It's My Life is. But fundamentally, all the elements are still there.
Okay.
They're tonally, primarily, it's just kind of dialed down that right turn in a slight different direction. Lyrically, it's much the same. So, it starts off with Talk Talk. Second track is It's So Serious. All very, both very upbeat songs. Um, I think that there are several, extended cuts of these for the clubs at the time. Um,
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
wasn't doing clubs at the time, so, but they would surely fit into that track. Um, yeah, I think there would be some things on here that you might find interesting. You may not love it as much as It's My Life, but it's like, oh, okay,
All
that's
right.
kind of cool. Yeah.
I know we
Imagine.
had talked.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I know we had talked at one point about doing like a rabbit hole series, and
Mhm.
we had talked about doing the five Talk Talk albums as part of that. So I would look forward to sort of diving into that further. That's for sure.
Imagine if It's My Life was their first album, and then it's like, then they decided, well, let's go a little bit more pop oriented. That's what
Okay.
this.
Okay.
Like I said, the elements are there. The musicianship is top notch. The arrangements are fantastic. Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll stop before I start repeating myself.
Okay.
Okay.
I've not heard this album. Again, my introduction to Talk Talk was "It's My Life," um, and I also remember "Life's What You Make It" from the next
Yep.
album,
Yep.
which I liked. I like that piano line.
Yep. Yep.
That
Oh yeah.
you know, it's very recognizable. You know who it is when you hear that, you know, that line. So
And these songs have
Bomb.
those musical hooks in them too.
yeah, yeah. And
Hmm.
I, gentlemen, I'm gonna put forward an idea, an album ranking. Talk Talk.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sign me up. All right. Moving on, ladies and gentlemen. Next, we're going to be tackling My Mother Told Me to Pick You. Okay, Peter Gabriel Security. Jim
Yeah.
can't type fast enough. Here we go. One, two, three. Come
I don't
on.
think I need to type on this one. I mean, come
Yeah.
on. Starts off with freaking Rhythm of the Heat and goes into San Jacinto. You're killing me. Those are
Okay.
like two of the greatest,
You're killing me. You're killing me.
album,
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
two of the, greatest, 1-2 punches there are on any album. Um, First of all, the thing that really makes this album so unique was how forward the Fairlight sampler is on here. And at the time, this was like,
Yeah.
there were like five people that had Fairlights in the world, and one of them was Pete, and the other one was, Kate Bush. And, it really, you know, I was watching a contemporary um, reaction to Shock the Monkey, and they're like, "My gosh, this sounds so 80s." And they were kind of laughing at it about how 80s it sounded. And I was taking issue with that because, I was 17 when this came out, and this is just like totally in my wheelhouse. And I don't, it was so ahead of its time at the time
Yeah.
that I don't put it as, 80s. If anything, it was like maybe a launching pad for other sounds of the 80s. But to me, this is just, it's its own beast. Um, it's got Shock the Monkey on it, Lay Your Hands on Me. All the 8 tracks on here are just absolutely phenomenal. Um, um, I'm running out of superlatives, so I better pass it to Ken.
All right. Ken.
I really like Shock the Monkey. Armando. I know nothing. I
Okay.
know nothing about his solo catalog
Okay.
other than what I've heard on
This, the, yeah, I got you.
Oh, Ken. Oh, baby.
This was my first introduction to Peter Gabriel as a 12-year-old. I remember hearing The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway as a kid on the radio, but never really put two and two together that this was the person on lead vocals to in Genesis. Shock the Monkey is pop confection, perfection, whatever you want to call it, in terms of a pop oriented top 40 kind of a track. The drum programming, whatever you want to call it, it effing works. Everything about that track works.
Big time.
Um, what I love about Peter Gabriel was that he was a forward thinker. He just did whatever he wanted to do, whether it was using the Fairlight, programming or whatever keyboard. He did whatever he wanted to do, and the imagery for the video was just so, pardon the pun, shocking that you sat up and you noticed what was going on. Okay.
Yep.
The vocals, the arrangement, the harmonies that he did, he was on fire. And when it came to this track and the album overall, I mean, the story was that he wanted to name the album Peter Gabriel for the fourth time, but Geffen, that was gonna distribute the album that he signed to, pleaded with him, change the album title for the U.S. market. We need to differentiate you from what you did before, please. So they changed it to Security. This album was all over the radio when it came out, for a good reason. And yeah, he was an innovator. I don't even think he was stopped being an innovator. He just did things his own way on all
hmm
levels. And Security is testament to that.
The the thing about Shock the Monkey is that my understanding is that musically, not lyrically, musically, the inspiration behind it was a lot of old, Tamla Motown Stax
Yeah, yeah.
records. And so if you replace the Fairlight, main melody with like a horn section, I can hear that. I can hear that this has got kind of
Yeah,
like
I
a
get you
soul
there.
DNA
Yeah.
DNA to it. But obviously it takes a lot of left turns with all the, frickin' Tony Levin monster stick master that he is. Between him and Jerry Marotta on drums, I mean, this album is just a rhythm player's,
I mean, that's
pipe
it.
dream.
That this song, Shock the Monkey, the heat of the rhythm, it was all very rhythmic and very, dare I say, pulsating. And it just kept you moving, you know?
Yeah, and Levin's playing on it is very creative.
Yeah, yeah,
Very creative. I can't recommend Security enough.
yeah, I would too. I would too.
It's very dramatic.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, from one end of the extreme to the other, ABC, the lexicon of love. Jim,
I know the single. I know it was popular back in the day. This is the one with "That's the Look of Love" on it, right?
The Look of Love, yes. Shall I go first?
Please.
This is Sophistopop with a disco tinge to it. Produced
I
by,
thought you were going to say Sophistopop with an emphasis on the fist.
no.
Okay.
Hey, 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 it's not that kind of a show. Um,
It is now.
oh God, why did you go there?
Wow.
It's been a long morning.
The
Yeah.
Tell me about it. The Lexicon of Love from ABC, released again in 1982, ladies and gentlemen. Sophistopop with a disco tinge. Songs like Poison Arrow, The Look of Love,
Oh,
parts one,
that's
two,
on here
three,
too.
four,
Okay.
Yeah.
parts one, two, three, four, and five. Tears Are Not Enough. Production handled by Trevor Horn. Yes, they were part of the new romantic scene with groups like Duran Duran, Haircut 100. But you know what? Listening to this album, there is a sophistication to it with symphonic strings incorporated that isn't on those other albums I mentioned by Duran Duran or Haircut 100. There is a lush sophistication to this album that draws you in. It's got to be said, "The Look of Love" as a single was all over FM Top 40 radio. You cannot deny that, that song had the hit factor or the it factor, had the
Oh,
hook,
sure.
had the drumming on it, the bass, ass shaker galore. All right. They did come out with the Lexicon of Love 2 several years ago, but it didn't live up to the brilliance of what was the Lexicon of Love. So that's my 52 cents on ABC, the Lexicon of Love. Over to Jim's, looking like he wants to chime in with his opinion on it. Go ahead.
Well, I don't really have much of an opinion other than the songs "Poison Arrow" and "The Look of Love," because I remember hearing them on the radio, and yeah, they were, uh, the more pleasant of tunes of that ilk. I mean, a lot of this kind of new romantic synth pop stuff just wasn't in my wheel bag. Thank you, Ken. Um, but it was fine enough as it is. Sometimes
Yeah.
I turn it off on the radio where it's like, oh, gotta hear this again. This album though does have a very direct connection over to um, the band Art of Noise and the
With Trevor Horn.
ZTT record label. So, yeah,
Yes.
Trevor Horn and Dudley, Gary Langan and
Yes.
JJ Jasalik, if the notes here are all correct. So yeah, so we get Art of Noise because of this ABC album.
That's right. And it also contained the song All of My Heart, which was a beautiful ballad on it. Um, Ken, your thoughts and memories and views and disdain or love with this album?
I'm not familiar with the album as a whole. Um, I am familiar with most of the songs. To me, I suspect, and we'll never know for sure, that the 80s would have been a sadder time for music if it wasn't for Trevor Horn. Even even the music he produced that I don't like. This is okay. It's all right. But the other stuff that he did that I don't like, man, I tell you what, I can really appreciate the production
Yeah,
and the arrangements that Trevor Horn
it's
did.
Yeah,
And he would go on to produce uh, two of my all-time favorite albums, which were the first two albums by Seal, that I think are just unbelievable.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you. With musical contributions from Lisa Coleman and Wendy Melvoin of The Revolution. Thank you very
Yes.
much. Here we go.
Yes.
Here we go. It's all a rich tapestry. There we go. All right. It is. It is. 6 degrees of separation, ladies and gentlemen.
There you
Um,
go.
we must carry on. Split Ends, Time and Tide.
Ooh, Jimmy boy.
Oh, I love me this record. This is so great. Obviously, I knew of Split Ends due to the single, the singles. One Step Ahead.
I got you.
I Got You. Even Shark Attack. Um,
Ooh. Ooh, yeah.
oh yeah. But Time and Tide is just a fantastic album from the drop all the way out. Steve Lillywhite or Hugh Padgham,
You
right?
Paget.
Hugh
You Paget.
Padgham. So this is in that great 82 maelstrom of great Hugh Padgham productions. And yeah, there's just so many pieces of confection perfection on here, Armando. It is highly recommended. It starts off with Dirty Creature, which is this got this great do 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 do, this great
Forgive me,
funky
is this
groove.
forgive me, is this the album with 6 months in a leaky boat?
Yes.
I'm sold.
6 months in a leaky boat.
Ding ding ding.
But even better is Hello Sandy Allen.
Andy Allen.
Sandy Allen is one of the greatest pop songs ever, 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 ever. And yeah, I mean there are some low spots on this album, but they are few. The heights on this record, which we've kind of talked about some of the titles already, really, wipe away any of the sins of like some of the lower grade songs.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, it's fantastic. Um, this for people who don't know, um, shame on you. And Split Ends was the band that came before Crowded House, and it's got a lot more of an eclectic feel. I don't know if it's very New Zealandish. I don't know if all New Zealand pop is this way, but it's Split Ends, when I've listened to past albums can be sort of undone by their own eclecticism, but I think Hugh Padgham kind of rescues it and keeps them on track, and it produces just an utterly fantastic record. Love Time and Tide.
Ken?
Yes, this is their next to the last proper album. And it really shows a maturity, which I think a lot of what Hugh Padgham brings to it. Um, at this point, it's pretty much led by the Finn brothers,
Yeah.
Tim Finn and Neil Finn. Their songwriting styles are very different. Tim Finn's uh, song style is the more eclectic of the two. Um, and the for me, the Neil Finn songs on this album are the ones that particularly stand out. Hello,
Yeah.
Sandy Allen. Neil wrote at the time. Sandy Allen um, was the tallest woman in the world, and he met them, or she met them at one point, and so he wrote a song about her. Hello, Sandy Allen, and the lyrics are just so incredibly creative. The song
Hmm.
has such wonderful musical hooks to it. Um, the Take a Walk is a really great song.
Yep.
Um, and towards the end, this Log Cabin Fever, which is almost like a little bit of a fever dream. It's the log cabin out in the woods where there's a stalker almost. Um, but it's just yeah. Neil
Okay.
Finn, when he joined the band for True Colors, just really kind of all of a sudden, started shining and came out as
He
uh,
matured.
and
Yeah.
gave them their first real hits. And this is just so much fun. This one, the two albums before it and the one after it are just absolute amazing. Yeah, and
Okay.
so and because of my love for them at the time, um, when Crowded House came out with their debut album, I didn't need to hear anything. I just went and bought it, and I've been a fan ever since of both of these.
Okay.
So, and Tim Finn has a rather extensive solo catalog too. Like I said, their styles are different. They've done a couple of albums together. Um, under the moniker, I think usually the
The
Finn
Finn
Brothers,
brothers.
like that. Those are very good also.
Yeah.
When they work together, the whole family, the whole Finn family is musical. And actually, the current version of Crowded House is like three-quarters of the Finn family. He's got two or three of his sons,
Yeah,
playing in the
he
band
does.
now.
He does. Okay.
And oh yeah, it's a fun. This is one of those albums that I just categorize as fun, not just good, but fun.
Yeah.
Not all good albums are fun. This
Yeah.
one, these guys are.
Okay.
And Armando, I mean, you're kind of leading off saying, "Does this is that the one with 6 months in a leaky boat?" If you already know that song, this album is an easy recommend for you.
that's the only track I know from the album, so I'm gonna check the album out. Seriously. I remember that track as
Yeah,
came out. I was like, oh, good, melodic, catchy, had
yeah,
the hook. Yeah, the
yeah,
harmonies.
Yep.
Yeah. All
The
right.
only reason I know what Aotearoa is.
yeah.
Okay. All right. We're gonna carry on, ladies and gentlemen.
Google.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
Google
Go
it.
ahead.
get a bit punchy here. Phil Collins, hello, I must be going.
Oh,
Mm.
Phil. Oh, Phil. I remember back in the day, um,
Back in our day. Yeah.
back in our day, I remember reviewing this for my high school newspaper.
Oh,
I was a
sweet Jesus.
huge, I was a huge Phil Collins fan around this time, and I heard "Hello, I Must Be Going," and boy, was I disappointed. Um,
Okay.
because to me, it just commercialized the things that I really loved about Face Value.
Yeah.
It just kind of took the formula and just began, kind of
Churning it
mass
out.
producing it in a
Churning it
way.
out.
Yeah. I'm yeah. Obviously, I don't care anymore is a great tune. As I kind of look back on it, I don't care anymore. I cannot believe it's true. Um, Great songs like China is, yeah, okay. It Don't Matter to Me is great. Don't Let Him Steal Your Heart Away, West Side. Those are all great tunes. The rest of them are kind of like fair to middling and kind
Yeah.
of more middling,
Yeah.
if truth be told. Um, One of the first rock concerts that I wanted to see was during this time. And I told my buddy who I said, hey, let's go to a concert. He's like, all right. So we, had sort of, I had said I wanted to go see Phil Collins because he's playing at, small Berkeley community theater. And he's like, I just saw Phil with Genesis in the summer. Why don't we go see Billy Joel instead? And so that worked out fine too, because that was Billy Joel Nylon Curtain tour. And so I'm not going to knock that one. Um, but yeah, Hello, I Must Be Going, I guess, is the start of
Yeah.
Phil Collins' apathy. I mean, I didn't feel the apathy with Abacab. I definitely started to feel it here. And then it just kind of snowballed throughout the remainder of the 80s for
Yeah.
me. Um, I still love like the Perkins Palace show that came out on VHS. Even though it's not the full concert, and I know how you feel about full concerts, Armando. Um, there's stuff on it that's just really, really good and
Yeah.
still kind of endeared Phil Collins to me for a period. But yeah, this it's not a swing and a miss, but it's just kind of like more
A swing and a
more of the
thud.
same.
A swing and a
Playing
thud.
a foul. Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, I think a foul ball is a good way to say it.
Okay.
He totally strikes out with no jacket required, but that's another story.
Uh, Yeah, no, if I can go first, Ken,
Yeah.
and just quickly. Yeah, I do like the West Side. I do like that track. As an instrumental piece, I do like it. The rest, You Can't Hurry Love, his take on that. Eh, I don't care anymore. Um, yeah,
I mean, it's a great starter. I mean, that drum pattern is very hypnotic
yeah,
and it
and for
does
the
draw you
longest,
in.
like for the novice in me, for the longest time, I would confuse. I don't care the intro to I don't care anymore to In the Air Tonight for some effing reason. I never knew why. I couldn't say, okay, that's not the one. I was a kid, right? I was like, I really couldn't get it. But yeah, you can sort of see he started out great with Face Value. Then with Hello, I Must Be Going, he just kind of petered down. It just
Sure.
slowly, slowly.
Well, he found the formula and just kept turning the
Yeah,
crank.
churning out that gated drum sound. Yeah. It, okay. Moving on.
And
Uh,
the gated, it misses the variety that you've got on Face Value with like Shankar on violin,
yeah.
banjo and acoustic guitar.
Well, yeah. I
Um,
mean, there is no doubt that there is a definite step down from between Face Value and Hello, I Must Be Going. Definitely, definitely. So,
Yeah.
Ken,
At the time, it wasn't so disappointing because it is so much like Face Value in its attempt.
hmm,
Um, and I don't care anymore. It was supposed to be the parallel to,
in
the
the
big hit off the first one.
in
Yeah.
the air
And
tonight.
um,
Yeah,
in the air tonight. To me, this is a musical version of taking a document, putting it on, making a Xerox of it, and then making a Xerox of the Xerox
yeah, yeah.
photocopy.
The photo
And every time you make a copy of the copy, it gets, more watered down
diminished. The
and
quality
whatever.
is diminished.
Yeah, because there
yeah.
were several years ago, maybe about 5 years ago, um, I decided to, go back and revisit these. And in my brain, I'm thinking, I really enjoyed this album at the time. But when I listen to it again now,
No,
I'm like, did I have a brain hemorrhage or whatever? It, like you said, a formula. Unfortunately, the results do not have staying power. Um,
part of the Queen
and he
reference.
would
Okay.
go on, to make those massive singles and whatever, and all the girls would just swoon and everything, and all the guys would roll their eyes. So,
Shut up and play the drums, Phil. That's what all the guys would say.
yeah, pretty much, yeah, yeah,
Well, let me throw this out there. I mean, this is part of the period of Phil Collins that's just like this was the where he became ubiquitous
sure,
because very quickly, I mean, you had Face Value, you had Abacab, you had the Abacab tour, you had the Three Sides Live tour, you had this album, you had his first album with Robert Plant, you had the Frida record. I mean, this is all within like a 2 year span.
This
It's
is where he was.
crazy.
This was where he was starting to become annoying because he was everywhere
everywhere.
and yes, he did the Robert Plant album. Was it the Principle of Moments album?
Yeah,
Or Pictures at 11,
Oh,
one of the
Pictures
two.
at 11. Yeah, and he did the
Pledge
Frida.
Pin, frickin' Pledge Pin is awesome.
Uh,
I
he did
like
the
the whole album. Yeah,
he did the Frida
those few
album,
albums. Yeah,
and which something's going on. You couldn't escape him. And it was like,
uh,
what the hell is this? I mean, it did eventually lead to a backlash
mhm.
by people, artists,
Which
and
which he even admits now.
Yeah,
yeah. Um, Although he never really understood his no, what's his name? No, Gallagher's beef with him, but that's it. I mean, that's who it is, right?
It's Noel Gallagher. Who cares?
Never mind. But yeah, you could again getting back to the original point. You can definitely see um, a decline starting, in my very humble opinion. I do like the West Side. The
Yeah.
the You Can't Hurry Love remake. Nah.
Mhm.
Um, I don't care anymore. Nah. It is what it is. But
Hmm.
the formula, unfortunately, sells, and that's what happened. He
Sure,
fell into that trap.
sure.
So, but we must carry on, ladies and gentlemen. What to pick and what number am I at? In terms of like
This is
five,
number 9.
number nine. Fantastic. Okay, what to pick? What to pick here? We have a whole list here. Robert Plant, Pictures at 11.
There you go.
Well, I already kind of stuck my neck out there talking about Pledge Pin, and I'm not going to go back on that. I absolutely love, love, love that track. Um, I'm not exactly sure what it is about it. I think just because it hasn't got a typical verse chorus structure. Um, and plus it's just got this, Phil has got these little tasty fills that he is playing, throughout the track. And just this real killer sax solo at the end, which I think is
Ravenscroft.
oh geez, Ravenscroft. That's right. I was trying to think. Yeah, the guy who played on Baker Street. I couldn't remember his name. Um, it's Burning Down One Side. I remember the title, but I couldn't tell you, if I tripped over it, maybe I'd remember it, but it's not, I can't hear it just looking at the title. Uh, to me, Pledge Pin is the one that's a standout on here. Um, Not a bad record. It's certainly not a Led Zeppelin record,
No, I
No.
think
but I think that was the point. It's
I
like
think
he
he
didn't
was
want
trying
to
to
make it.
distance he was trying to distance himself from Led Zeppelin as much as he could at this point in time.
Yeah.
Yep. I'd have to go back and listen to it. I do remember enjoying it somewhat back in the day, but obviously I put Pledge Pin on the A plus chart for all these tracks. But I'd have to give it another listen. I probably haven't listened to this whole album since like high school.
Okay, Ken.
Do you remember Cozy Powell playing on this?
Oh no, I only see it from looking at it on the
Okay.
Great Big Encyclopedia.
Fair enough. I like this album. Uh, and part of that is because it's even including synthesizer to the guitar and the bass and the drums, it still feels stripped down. Um, and I really like the guitar work by Robbie Blunt, that clean Stratocaster sound. Um, I don't know. I just like that mixture of sound because it's kind of stripped down. I can hear more of what's going on in each of the instruments.
Okay,
Mhm.
And
it's
and
not cluttered.
yeah, it's it's like sitting and listening to them, play in a very small club. You can hear everything. It's not overproduced.
Okay,
Um,
Yeah.
and hey, Plant produced it himself. I'm not sure who engineered it, but apparently it sounds like from everything I've read, they gave him what he wanted. And so it's not big and bombast like Led Zeppelin, and I'm okay with that
yeah.
because he's not trying to be Led Zeppelin. He's trying to do his own thing, and I think the results was great. I
Hmm.
think they
Yeah.
used this lineup for I think at least two albums, maybe even three. I don't remember.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, the second one is very much the same cast of characters.
yeah, the principal moments, yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's where I come in.
sure.
Robert Plant.
And so I thoroughly enjoy, especially those first two. I have the box set of all the studio albums, and
Of
I
course you
always
do.
first. Of course I do.
Of
But
course you do.
yeah, yeah, I like this album.
Okay. Well, I can't really add much to the discussion on this album because I do remember seeing it, hearing about it, but it doesn't really stand out to me. So I'm gonna plead the fifth kind of thing,
Okay.
and we're gonna move on. Last album on the list, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna tackle Thomas Dolby, The Golden Age of Wireless.
Which leads me to ask which version?
All of them.
Yes,
All
the
of
answer
them.
is yes.
The answer is yes. Oh my goodness. Yeah, because this album was released like six different times in the span of a couple of years.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
might be exaggerating just a touch.
let's go with the original. If I understand correctly, remember correctly, this was the album with She Blinded Me with Science and Submarines.
Yep. Well, that I mean, there was an 82 release in the UK, there was an 82 release in the US, there was an 83 release in the US that was the second version, and then there was a second version in the UK as well in 1983.
What fools these
So
mortals be? Jesus Murphy. I
I
mean,
know.
that's like a
So
brain aneurysm waiting to happen, for God's sake, to keep up with all that kind of stuff.
It's like
so it's hard to
taxi.
pick a track list, or even a version or a mix because they're all different. Um, but the big tracks on here um, are obviously She Blinded Me with Science, Wind Power, Europa and the Pirate Twins, and One of Our Submarines. I mean, those are the
So,
ones that always stand out to me, and those are the ones that I heard on the radio back in the day. And I remember buying this in 83, like the same album trip that I bought Synchronicity. I had like five albums in the stack after I graduated high school. Anyway, yeah, great, great record. Um, Obviously, it kind of started the synth, or it exacerbated the synth madness.
yeah.
Um, but Dolby handled it in a very creative way, and you can tell with the construction of the songs that this was something different than like a Gary Newman or a Human
Oh,
League.
yeah. Oh,
There
yeah.
was something that had a bit more meat on the bones to it.
Yeah.
Per
Um,
se. Yes.
yeah, and then Andy Partridge was involved in, I think, the original production of the original releases, and I think he co-authored one or two tracks, which may be um, well, I think they were part of the songs that were dropped, like Urges and Leipzig. I'm seeing from the notes here are not included.
Okay.
She Blinded Me with Science is the extended version. This album is kind of a mess in terms of its releases, but it's really good, and I'm grateful for it because without this stepping stone, he never would have made The Flat Earth, which is one of my all-time favorite records.
Okay, now I
Um,
gotta check that out. Jesus Christ, you're killing me.
Thomas Dolby, the Flat Earth is he adds acoustic instruments and more songwriting variety
Okay.
to what he's doing.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, I like this album quite a bit, but it doesn't have the same staying power to me as the Flat Earth. And those four singles that I mentioned, Blind Me with Science, Submarine, Wind Power, the other one. um, yeah, they're
The
really
other
good.
one. Yeah.
The other one that I can't remember.
Yeah. That's all right. That's all right. No, I'll go quick if I can go, Ken, because it'll be really quick with me on this one. I do remember Blinding Me with Science, She Blinded Me with Science, and Submarines being all over the radio. The other two singles I don't remember hearing. at the time. Um, influential, influential. I mean, in terms of being synth pop and the, just the use of, and on the production, like, sorry, the use of synthesizers and the drum machines. It was it those two songs, Submarines and She Blind Me with Science, had the hook, right? There was meat on the bones, as Jim would say. He would go on to do production work with Joni Mitchell on Dog Eat Dog, and that would go on to create friction between the two of them. Um, but I digress. But that's, I mean, I really need to dig into this album for the first time. I've never heard the album as a whole. I do remember he did come out with the track Hyperactive a year or two later, which was
That's on the Flat Earth.
on the Flat Earth. Okay, I'm in. Okay, I'm into that one then. I'm getting that one. Hello. Yeah, no, fantastic, fantastic. All right, down to Ken.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the album as a whole either. I know I have heard it, but it's been a long time.
Yeah,
I just remember it being a fun album. You know, She Blinded Me with Science is still, um, I still marvel at it because he could take all these electronic aspects, yet it's not like a lot of bands at the time with electronics, and it was just like eight, two bars just on a loop,
yeah,
just the same thing, the same thing, the same thing.
yeah,
And for me, the Blinded Me with Science is a perfect example
yeah.
of something being almost through composed. And plus it's got great humor in it too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna check out Flat Earth too for sure.
I'm gonna check out both these
It's
albums.
just it's a fun album. Yeah.
Yeah, and it should be noted too that he is credited for providing keyboards to Def Leppard's Pyromania album.
Well, and
Uncredited.
he also was the integral figure behind Foreigner 4.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
81. That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. So we're at 10, are we?
We're
I
at
believe
10.
so.
We're at 10. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
So let me point out,
Yes.
provide some context. So between this episode
Yes.
and the prior one that we've done, we've covered 19 albums from 1982 just off the top of our heads. I was looking at that list, and there's another dozen easily that are like A minus or A plus albums. It's just disgusting how much good music is in 82.
Disgusting in a good way. There you go. There you
It's
go.
like you've had too much to eat and you just feel like, oh God, I shouldn't have eaten that
There you
much.
go.
But
No, I get it
it's so
100%. 100%.
Thanksgiving afternoon. Yeah.
Yeah. I understand 100%. All right, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. All that in 1982. We will be back with another episode of All That in 1982, part three. This was part two. Had a brain fart there, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm prone to those from time to time. Ask Bob. Anyways, I want to thank Jim and Ken for coming along with me on this impromptu episode. We had fun with this. Hopefully, talking about these albums brought back some memories for you. I know it did for me, definitely. And we will be back with part three of All That in 1982 very soon. The thing is, we do these off the top of our heads. This idea just came up like 5 minutes before I hit the record button for this episode. So, you know what? That's the best way to do it sometimes. Just to have fun, no heavy thinking, no heavy research, just have a good time and just talk about our memories
Yep.
for these albums. So please put down in the
absolutely.
comments your memories of these albums and maybe some other albums that we forgot to mention. There's a whole list out there somewhere of albums from 1982 that we forgot to talk about. And We just do this for our entertainment, our benefit, our sanity to keep things, light and keep things going. And we would appreciate your feedback on this. Okay. So please click like and subscribe, and please hit the notification bell to keep yourselves on top of any new content I've got coming up. And there's only coffee in this cup. I will say that again. If I, as I stutter with my words. So for Jim Bricker and Ken Cheshire, I'm Armando Venditti signing off. Again, please look after yourselves and one another, and we'll see you soon with more videos. Bye for now.